They moved stones heavier than jets, with no machines, built temples at mountaintops with surgical precision, and aligned tombs with the stars, 5,000 years before GPS. Around the world, ancient megaliths guard secrets we still can't explain. But what if the ones you've never heard of are even stranger? These are 10 ancient megalithic mysteries that rewrite everything you thought you knew about human history. Hidden deep in western France, beyond rolling fields and village roads, lies a site older than the Egyptian pyramids, the Tumulus of Bougon. This megalithic necropolis, dating back as far as 4,700 BCE, is one of Europe's oldest ceremonial burial grounds. Yet few people outside the archaeological world have even heard of it. Rediscovered in 1840, Bougon is not a single tomb but a cluster of 5 monumental barrows, or tumuli, labelled A through F. Each one is an architectural time capsule, revealing how construction techniques evolved over more than 1,000 years. These aren't just graves. They're monuments of memory, built to last for eternity. The most jaw-dropping is Tumulus A, a stepped mound sheltering a large chamber capped by a 90-ton stone slab. That's heavier than a diesel locomotive. Inside were the remains of over 200 individuals, buried with artifacts and offerings. Tumulus E, the oldest of the group, began as 2 circular mounds that were later fused into one structure. 2 burial chambers sit inside, suggesting generations used it for both death and ritual. One chamber may have been reserved for the dead. The other, possibly for ceremonies, spiritual transitions, or ancestor reverence. Tumulus B introduces a haunting mystery. 2 of its 4 chambers are fully sealed with no passageways at all. Who or what was placed there, never meant to be disturbed. Tumulus F stretches across the landscape, each end housing chambers from different centuries. One is capped with a 32-ton stone, and between them lie additional structures, perhaps later additions for stability or evolving spiritual practices. In 1979, archaeologists recreated the impossible. Using stone tools, wooden rollers, rails, and 200 volunteers, they successfully moved a 32-ton stone block dozens of meters in just a few hours. It proved what skeptics doubted. Neolithic builders didn't need machines or aliens. They had willpower, coordination, and brilliant engineering. Today, Bougon is protected and paired with a museum that showcases human remains, tools, pottery, and even stone working demonstrations. But it remains a mystery mostly forgotten by the world. Bougon stands as undeniable proof. Before the pyramids, before Stonehenge, Neolithic Europe was already building timeless monuments to the dead. And this is just the beginning. In a quiet corner of Asuka, Japan, nestled among rice paddies and forested hills, stands a monument that seems to defy everything we know about ancient engineering. Ishibutai Kofun. Built over 1,400 years ago, this megalithic tomb is composed of more than 30 massive stone blocks, some weighing up to 77 tons. The largest ceiling slab stretches over 11 meters long and 8 meters wide, heavier than a modern military tank. Yet, without cranes, metal tools, or advanced math, ancient builders placed it with such exactitude that the tomb remains perfectly stable to this day. Originally, Ishibutai was hidden. It sat beneath a rounded mound of earth, blending into the countryside like a gentle hill. Over the centuries, rain and erosion peeled away its covering, leaving behind a skeleton of bare stone, a chamber that seems more futuristic than ancient. Most historians believe it was built for Soga no Umako, a powerful aristocrat who helped introduce Buddhism to Japan during the 7th century. He was one of the most influential men of his era. But oddly, no body, inscription, or burial goods have ever confirmed this. Who lies beneath the capstone remains an unanswered question. As for the engineering, theories abound. Wooden rollers, sleds, earthen ramps, and even floating the stones on nearby rivers. But all fall short of fully explaining the task. The math, muscle, and precision required to align the slabs in perfect balance without even a modern level or laser remains baffling. There's also something celestial. Some researchers believe the tomb is aligned with the sunrise at key points in the solar year, like solstices. If true, Ishibutai wasn't just a resting place, it was a portal connecting the dead with cosmic cycles and divine order. Step inside today, and the cool air, echoing silence, and immense weight overhead create a feeling that's hard to describe. It's not just awe, it's respect. This place wasn't made by amateurs, it was crafted by minds that understood the sky, the earth, and the soul's journey in between. Was Ishibutai a tomb, a calendar, a temple, or all three? Maybe we're not meant to know. Maybe that's the point. In the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon stands a site that breaks all the rules of ancient construction, Baalbek. Here, colossal stone blocks weighing up to 1,650 tons were not only quarried, but moved and stacked with an accuracy that rivals modern engineering. For comparison, that's heavier than 3 fully loaded Boeing 747s. And this was done more than 2,000 years ago, possibly much earlier. Known to the Romans as Heliopolis, or City of the Sun, Baalbek's grand temples sit atop a foundation made of the largest cut stones in human history. But it wasn't the Romans who placed them there. Beneath the Temple of Jupiter lies the true mystery. 3 megalithic blocks, each weighing between 800 and 1,200 tons, collectively known as the Trilithon. How were they moved? How were they lifted? And why do we have no records, blueprints, or even legends explaining it? Theories abound: winches, sleds, earthen ramps, but none can fully account for the precision alignment of stones this massive. Not one block is misaligned. Then there's the stone of the pregnant woman, a monolith in the nearby quarry. At over 1,000 tons, it was believed to be the largest until another, even more massive block was uncovered. 1,650 tons still embedded in bedrock. That's the equivalent of 24 semi-trucks, and it's never been moved. Why was it abandoned? Was it simply too heavy, or did the builders change their plans? The stone's perfect cut suggests it was ready for transport, and yet it still lies half buried, challenging every assumption we have about ancient limits. Some believe Baalbek's original foundation predates Roman activity by thousands of years, possibly tied to Phoenician, Sumerian, or even pre-Ice Age cultures. It's a theory met with skepticism, but the lack of answers leaves room for speculation. Baalbek's Trilithon is more than stone. It's a paradox, a monument to an unknown past. It doesn't fit the tools, the timelines, or the logic of ancient engineering as we know it. And that's why Baalbek remains one of the most mind-bending megalithic enigmas ever discovered. A riddle carved in rock, daring us to solve what the ancients left behind. In the sun-drenched hills of southern Spain, near the town of Antequera, stands one of the most massive and mysterious Neolithic monuments in Europe, the Menga Dolmen. Built between 3800 and 3600 BCE, this megalithic tomb predates the Great Pyramid of Giza and remains one of the largest stone structures of its time. Its biggest capstone alone weighs a staggering 150 tons, yet it was lifted and placed without metal, cranes, or wheels. The Menga Dolmen is part of a larger UNESCO World Heritage Complex, but Menga is the undisputed centerpiece. Inside, a long passage lined with towering stone slabs, called orthostats, leads into a wide chamber, once used for communal burials. It's dark, cool, and geometrically precise. Walking through it feels less like entering a grave and more like stepping into a sacred stone cathedral carved from prehistory. But what truly sets Menga apart is its cosmic alignment. Unlike most European dolmens, which point east toward the sunrise, Menga is aligned with a nearby mountain, La Peña de los Enamorados, or Lover's Rock. This mountain resembles a sleeping human profile and may have symbolized a sleeping giant, ancestor, or deity to the people who built the dolmen. This suggests the structure was more than just a tomb. It was a ritual gateway intentionally placed to connect the dead with the mountain and perhaps with celestial events. The landscape was part of the spiritual design. A 2022 study revealed that Menga's stones came from Cerro de la Cruz, just 1 kilometer away. But transporting them wasn't simple. The stones are sedimentary, prone to cracking under stress. Builders had to create carefully graded paths, smooth the terrain, and likely use teams of people with ropes, wooden rollers, and sledges to guide each block with surgical precision. To raise the 150-ton capstone, they probably constructed a massive earth ramp or timber frame, then gently lowered it into place, aligning it so perfectly that the chamber has remained standing for nearly 6,000 years. Menga isn't just a monument, it's a message, a declaration that Neolithic people understood nature, engineering, and symbolism on a profound level. And they carved their legacy not in words, but in stone. Hidden in the deep forests of Western Pomerania, Poland, archaeologists have uncovered something extraordinary: massive megalithic tombs stretching nearly the length of a football field. Nicknamed the Polish Pyramids, these ancient structures have silently guarded the woods for nearly 6,000 years, their story almost lost to time. Built by the funnel beaker culture between 4,300 and 2,800 BCE, these tombs belong to the same era as the earliest phases of Stonehenge. But unlike the towering pyramids of Egypt or the stone circles of Britain, the Polish monuments are long, low, and triangular, with some reaching 150 meters in length, yet rising only a few meters above the ground. Their design is stunning in its simplicity: elongated isosceles triangles built from stone and earth, covered in moss and hidden by trees. But make no mistake, these structures were not accidents of nature. They were deliberate spiritual projects, carefully shaped to transform the landscape into sacred ground. Near the town of Dolmens, archaeologists recently mapped more than a dozen of these structures using airborne laser scanning, LiDAR, and digital terrain modeling. These modern tools pierced the forest canopy, revealing geometric patterns that had gone unnoticed for centuries. The tombs likely served as burial monuments for community elites, chieftains, shamans, or revered ancestors. Some contain central stone chambers, while others appear to lack any interior, suggesting symbolic use. These could have functioned as cenotaphs, memorials with no physical remains, or as markers for ceremonial processions. What's especially compelling is the effort required to build them. With no metal tools or wheeled carts, entire communities would have gathered to cut timber, transport heavy stones, and sculpt the terrain into triangular monuments. It was more than construction. It was communal devotion. Why the triangle shape? Some believe it may reflect celestial symbolism, fertility icons, or even tribal emblems, though their exact meaning remains elusive. Today, many of these Polish pyramids remain shrouded in forest, known only to a handful of specialists. But with advancing tech and growing public interest, they're beginning to step out of obscurity. These are not just Polish relics. They're part of a greater forgotten tradition of European megalithic architecture, reminding us that monumental building wasn't exclusive to Egypt or Mesopotamia. It happened here too, quietly, enduring, and now rediscovered. On the rugged island of Sardinia, surrounded by wind-swept hills and fields of ancient stone, stands one of Europe's most enigmatic megalithic traditions, the tombs of giants, or Tombe dei Giganti. These monumental graves, built by the Nuragic civilization during the Bronze Age around 1800 BCE, weren't designed for a single ruler or elite. They were built for entire communities, a rare glimpse into a culture where burial was a shared spiritual journey, not a symbol of royal power. One of the most iconic examples is the tomb at Coddu Vecchiu, located near Arzachena in northern Sardinia. And while no literal giants were found buried there, the site's sheer scale is enough to spark the legends. At its heart stands a central stele, a towering stone slab over 4 meters tall, carved with a symbolic doorway at its base. This portal was believed to mark the passage between the world of the living and the afterlife. Behind it lies a long burial chamber, stretching over 10 meters, originally covered by an earthen mound and used for generations of burials. In front of the tomb, an exedra, a semicircular plaza made of upright stones, forms a ceremonial space where the living may have gathered to honor ancestors, leave offerings, or perform healing rituals. Local lore goes further. Some Sardinians believe the tombs were built to channel telluric energy, natural earth currents that pass through sacred landscapes. It's said people would lie on the warm stones, hoping to absorb vitality, ease pain, or even connect with ancestral spirits. These weren't just tombs, they were energy centers, part of a broader spiritual ecosystem. Over 320 tombs of giants have been discovered across the island, some in ruins, others remarkably preserved. Their consistent features, massive stones, communal design, symbolic architecture, suggest a deeply shared worldview across centuries. The Coddu Vecchiu tomb, with its silent strength, tells a story of a culture that saw life and death as intertwined, where the dead weren't separated from the living, but remembered, revered, and honored. In a world of forgotten kings and crumbled empires, these tombs still whisper of unity, memory, and something far older than myth. Maybe the giants weren't physical beings, but ideas too big to die. On the misty shores of Cork Harbour in Ireland, where ancient tides meet crumbling cliffs, stands a monument long overlooked. For years, it was dismissed as a quirky garden feature, an old folly built for aesthetics. But recent research has shattered that assumption. This is no folly. It's a Neolithic portal tomb, and its name is Carreg a Mhaistin of Rostellan. Hidden in plain sight for decades, its origins were debated until archaeologist Michael Gibbons uncovered a nearby cairn, a long stone mound over 25 meters in length, partially buried in estuarine mud. This cairn, likely the tomb's original base, confirmed that Carreg am Heistin is not only authentic, it's one of Ireland's oldest and rarest coastal tombs. Its most haunting feature, its location. Unlike most dolmens built inland or on high ground, this portal tomb lies directly within the intertidal zone. At high tide, seawater laps at its stones. At low tide, it emerges like a ghost from the mud, half forgotten, half revealed. Only one other intertidal portal tomb has been identified in all of Ireland. Experts believe the site was once part of a broader coastal ritual landscape, where tombs and stones lined the sea, now lost beneath rising waters. This one, by chance or fate, managed to survive. Though heavily weathered, the tomb still shows its classic form, upright orthostats and a large capstone, tilted but intact. No confirmed remains have been recovered, but its shape and alignment match those of verified portal tombs across the island. In Irish folklore, such sites are often called Diarmuid and Gran's beds, tied to legends of love, escape, and sacred places. These tombs weren't just for the dead, they were intersections of myth, land, and spirit. But Carreg am Heistin is fragile. Rising sea levels and erosion are eating away at its foundation. If not protected, this rare monument may be lost, swallowed by the very tide it has resisted for millennia. Today, it stands at a threshold, not just between life and death, but between memory and oblivion. Carreg am Heistin is a survivor, a story carved in stone, and it reminds us that some of our oldest truths lie not in books, but in the earth waiting to be uncovered. High in the misty mountains of southern Russia, tucked into forested slopes and river valleys, lies one of the world's least understood ancient mysteries, the Caucasus Dolmens. Spread across nearly 12,000 square kilometers, these stone structures, over 3,000 identified so far, form one of the largest megalithic concentrations on Earth. And yet, few outside the region have ever heard of them. The dolmens come in various shapes, square, circular, trapezoidal, but share common features, precision-cut stone slabs, often joined without mortar, forming tight, enclosed chambers. Most strikingly, many include a round porthole entrance, usually carved in the center of the front stone. These entrances were sealed with stone plugs, sometimes carved in phallic shapes, possibly linked to fertility rites or spiritual rituals. Inside, archaeologists have found human remains, bronze tools, gold jewelry, pottery, and carved ornaments, all suggesting that these were high-status burials, constructed by a complex society with trade, belief systems, and engineering skill. Decorative carvings add to the intrigue. Spirals, concentric circles, breasts, triangles, and symbolic lintels appear throughout the region, motifs often associated with fertility, rebirth, and the divine feminine. These dolmens weren't just tombs, they were sacred spaces, designed with meaning woven into the stone. But their age is hotly debated. Conventional estimates place them between 4000 and 2000 BCE. However, alternative researchers suggest dates as far back as 25,000 years ago, a claim that remains speculative, but speaks to the monumental effort and enduring mystery behind their construction. The Jean River complex near Gelendzhik features some of the most iconic examples. 3 aligned dolmens overlooking the valley, with nearby settlement ruins and burial mounds. It may have served as a spiritual center, a hub for rituals or ancestral ceremonies. Sadly, many dolmens are deteriorating fast. Vandalism, vegetation overgrowth, and lack of state protection threaten their survival. Despite their global significance, they remain largely unstudied and unprotected. These dolmens are stone whispers from a forgotten civilization. Every carving, every precisely placed slab is a message, left not just for the dead, but for the future. And until we decode them, the Caucasus Mountains will continue to guard one of humanity's greatest unsolved stories, in silent, enduring stone. Perched high on the jagged peaks of Euboea, Greece's second largest island, stand some of the most baffling stone structures in Europe, the dragon houses, or dracospita. Their name conjures legends, and their design defies logic. At least 23 dragon houses have been identified, mostly clustered near Mount Ochi and the southern Styra region. These are not ordinary ruins. Each is a massive rectangular structure built from megalithic stone slabs, stacked without mortar, yet held firm for thousands of years. Their roofs are layered with enormous overlapping stones, forming an early corbel vault, some slabs weighing over 10 tons. Even today, the engineering is hard to replicate, especially since these buildings sit at altitudes up to 1,400 meters. With no ancient roads and no clear source for the stones, it's a mystery how ancient builders transported and placed them with such precision. Were they temples to forgotten gods, tombs for unknown rulers, or something else entirely? Astronomical observatories or ritual shelters linked to cosmic cycles. One major clue lies in the dragon house of Mount Ochi, whose entrance appears to align with the rising of Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. This kind of astronomical precision implies deep knowledge of celestial movement and a spiritual purpose tied to the heavens. Inside, excavations have uncovered pottery shards, animal bones, and even inscriptions in unknown writing systems. Some findings date the structures as far back as the 8th century BCE, though others suggest use continued well into the Hellenistic period. And the term dragon itself. In ancient Greek, draken could mean a powerful, watchful being, not necessarily a monster, but a protector or force of wisdom. To the locals, only beings of superhuman strength or divine power could have raised such structures in such remote places. Uniquely, these dragon houses have no parallels in classical Greek architecture. They don't resemble temples, homes, or forts. They stand alone, architectural outliers that challenge every established category. Today, they are slowly eroding, battered by wind and rain. No signs, no tourist trails, no answers. Just stone, silence, and speculation. And perhaps that's exactly what the builders intended, to leave behind a riddle written in stone, whispering to anyone who dares to climb the mountain and wonder, who built these and why? From the windswept tombs of Sardinia to the silent stones of Japan, from Ireland's tidal mysteries to Russia's mountain echoes. These megalithic marvels remind us of something profound. The ancient world was far more connected, capable, and spiritually attuned than we often imagine. Each site we've explored today carries its own unanswered questions. Who built them? Why did they align them with stars, rivers, and sacred mountains? How did they move stones that modern cranes struggle with? And what messages were carved into stone long before human language was ever written? One thing is certain. These weren't primitive people. They were engineers, astronomers, spiritual leaders, and storytellers. People who looked at death not with fear, but with reverence. People who built with meaning. People who built to last. If these forgotten monuments have taught us anything, it's this. The past isn't behind us, it's beneath us, all around us, waiting patiently to be uncovered. So, if you want to keep exploring the world's most mind-blowing ancient mysteries, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay bold, and remember, sometimes the oldest structures hold the newest questions.